Hello, everyone. Welcome to Developing Palates. I'm Aaron Loomis coming to you from the Ventura Cigar Company studios. And with me today is June Liu and John McTavish. How you doing, guys?
Doing good.
Yeah,
Happy Monday.
man. Doing good for a Monday. Boop, boop.
All right. So today we are talking about the Emilio Grimalkin Toro 6-inch by 50 ring gauge. Comes out of the Fabrica Oveja Negra factory in Nicaragua. Blend is listed as all Nicaraguan for wrapper binder filter. It's blended by James Brown. Price point is $10. Cigar was released in May of 2018. So with all that out of the way, June, what was your smoking experience like?
Um, Flavor profile wise, good amount of toastiness. Got a lot of bread, cedar to it. Um, there's like this. The spice delivery was like a layered kind of a dry red pepper for me. So it didn't really like spike in any way, but it was like it was there and it was like kind of pleasantly there, I guess you could say. Retrohale was pretty fierce, so that I got a lot of white pepper out of it. It's one of those retros that like really clears out your nostrils, and I got a lot of nuttiness out of that as well. Finish wise, dry red pepper on the back end and toast. Strength even in the beginning of the cigar was just slightly above medium, and the body was medium throughout the whole way. As I kind of get into the second third, I felt like the flavors became bolder. There's more pepper to it. There was so much pepper that it almost like tasted like you have like a fresh cut jalapeno when it's like a seeded jalapeno, makes it extra spicy. Kind of had that effect to it. But it wasn't just spice. I still got the same like breadiness and the cedar out of the cigar. Um, and then within the last third, the strength really started hitting me. It was borderlining full to the point where I'm like, fuck me very much. I need some sugar. But and so in addition to that, I thought that it also brought some char to the profile. So it became this like charred wood, like charred kind of a cedary note to it. That toastiness that I got so much of within the first couple of thirds that I really liked started taking a backseat as a result of that. And in terms of construction, I only spoke one for review, and the burn performance was really poor. I lost a number of times. I had to relight the cigar. Tunneling was incredibly severe. Wrapper refused to burn. So just really bad smoke production as well. So basically, it was all bad. In terms of draw, I rated it very good, which is one score below our perfect score. A little bit tight, but not a big issue.
All right, John, how about you?
Sounds like we had a very similar experience. The Grimalkin starts out with some really interesting baking spices. Kind of reminded me the flavor combinations like a baked good kind of thing, like some sort of cinnamon bread or something like that. Cedar, sweetness, and then I think like June said that the pepper kind of sneaks up on you, like out of nowhere. You just pow, you get that pepper, and then as I started to retrohale, I mean, that spice intensified very, very quickly. This is not a cigar you're going to be retrohaling every retrohale unless you like punishment. Fortunately, they didn't stay that way the whole way. And as the cigar progressed, there was this nice cocoa to balance it out. It was kind of this interesting mustiness that came through, which I don't. I would almost describe it as like a Davidoff mustiness, like a mushroom mustiness, which was really interesting. And then the spices and pepper kind of fell as the first third progressed, and I got a little bit of like stewed fruit, like plums, mixed in with some sweetness and some barbecue. So it was an interesting first third, and then moving into the second third, because I mentioned the spices kind of fell off. Well, they just like it was like somebody flipped a light switch, and the spices just immediately went back to full bodied, and the retrohale just kind of was sweetness and pepper mixed together, and then there was kind of a little bit of char going on that went away, and then the plums were there, but they're kind of really faint. So the second was kind of a muddled combination of flavors for me. Not it didn't really harmonize. And then, like June was saying, I had a very similar last third experience. Just a lot of cedar and char, and the char at times was very overwhelming. I did a number of purges to try and see if I can make it go away, but the last third was really just sort of a light medium bodied cedar and char, and it was definitely I would describe this as a medium full, a borderline full cigar. In terms of construction, similar burn experiences. I fought this cigar literally the entire way. Tunneling, wrapper issues, Ironically, the ash was holding on well in 1.5-inch increments, but I couldn't really get a lot of satisfying smoke production out of it. And then because I kind of wanted to be fair to the review, so I reviewed the second sample, and the second sample actually had worse performance than the first, so much so that I actually had to stop the review halfway through because I'd gone through literally half a lighter of butane just trying to keep it lit, and I realized at that point it's just not going to light. So I don't know if maybe there was some issues in transportation, like they were just too humidified. But I did take the second sample and sort of dry box it for 4 days beforehand. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but definitely some construction issues. Now on the draw side of things, perfect draw. Just that slight amount of resistance, which kind of puts that in the ideal zone for me. So no issues on the draw, but burn performance was definitely subpar. How was your experience, Aaron?
For me, the cigar started out with slightly sweet cedar and a little bit of mild baking spice. That sweetness from the cedar kind of leaves fairly quickly. Half-inch in or so, I got a little bit of mellow creaminess joins the profile. And then about an inch in, the cream and the baking spice go away as some kind of dry earthiness joins in with that cedar to create kind of like a drying profile. Retrohale is really an abundant cedar with a little bit of earthiness to it. As the first third comes to a close, the baking spice returns. The profile's not really as drying as it was before. Strength is slightly above medium. Second third, baking spice kind of evolves into a graham cracker note to kind of pair with the cedar and the earthiness. Half-inch in, that graham cracker baking spice note goes away. The cedar and earthiness remain. About an inch in, retrohale's toasted wood, earthiness, some char kind of returns to the profile to mix with the cedar and the earth. Strength in the second third is also slightly above medium. And then getting in the final third, cream starts ramping up to kind of take the lead over the cedar and the earthiness. About a half-inch in, some char joins the profile to mix with the cream, the cedar, and the earthiness. Retrohale, creamy wood note. About an inch in, cream and char at equal levels. Cedar and earthiness in the background. And then as the cigar comes to a close, as you guys have both alluded to, the char takes over. Everything else is really in the background at that point, and the strength bumped up to medium full. In regards to burn, I'm happy to say I did not have as poor of an experience as you guys did, but it was still not the greatest. Pretty wavy throughout, required a touch-up at one point. Cigar also went out on me once, so I had to do a relight. In regards to the draw, just a little bit tighter than I prefer, but didn't really cause any issues with the smoking experience. So overall, June, what were your thoughts on the cigar?
I think overall, I liked the flavor profile. I didn't care for the strength. I mean, anytime a cigar is so strong that it knocks me over, it becomes not enjoyable. But I mean, the caveat is I'm typically more sensitive to strength and nicotine than most people are. I think certainly most people that smoke a lot of Black Label stuff. But this was so full that it was just not. But towards the last third of it, it was just not enjoyable for me. So that compounded with the really bad burn issues was just, it made a bit of a disaster, especially hearing John within his 2 examples smoked. And Aaron, you didn't have as many problems as we do, but it wasn't exactly perfect. It just makes me wonder, I mean, what did we just get, like did our
bad batch?
bad batch from the box, or what is it, right? But it seems like there could have been better, perhaps, QC out of this.
Yeah. How about you, John? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed. I mean, obviously, this came out of Black Label Trading Company, blended by James Brown, and I pretty much smoke everything Black Label. You guys know I'm a huge Black Label fanboy, and I've never had a construction issue with Black Label. I would describe those cigars as very good to excellent in construction almost across the board universally. So I don't know what's going on here, but it doesn't seem right. I think, maybe there's some issues in shipping or storage or something along the line to affect the samples that we smoked. I did enjoy kind of where the flavors were going. So I have to kind of feel like the burn must have had an impact on the overall experience, especially, like I said, in the second sample. I couldn't even get through. I just got the halfway point. I just had to give up. So hard to say what's going on here, but it's definitely extremely atypical for Black Label in my experience. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I never smoked the original Grimalkin. I think I might have one kicking around the humidor, but I never smoked it, so I can't really say how it compares to the original. But this cigar as it was, I was really enjoying the flavors through the first 2/3, and the final third that char just took over, and it really kind of put a damper on things. But the burn had some issues in mine, not as aggressive as your guys's, so it didn't really knock down my overall enjoyment of the cigar. I mean, I can forgive a relight and a touch up in a cigar, and it doesn't really take away from any enjoyment level. So that really didn't have a big deal for me. But strength was above medium, and then got to medium full for me, and I know it's the same for you guys, and maybe a little bit more for June. But so it's going to be people that like that higher strength level. People that are normally fans of Black Label Trading Company and things like that. So it follows in that similar path. So it's not a a departure cigar or anything like that. So people that like those flavors and like that, the stuff from that portfolio are going to probably find something that they like here. I would have no problem smoking more of these. I'd obviously be hoping for well constructed samples so I don't have the burn issues, because if you get into the point where you're if you got 4 relights and you're already you're still in the first third, it's not you're not going to be a happy camper. So if you got good construction, I think it's worthwhile to go for it on this one. So getting to the scores, I gave it a 6.47. June, you gave it a 5.80, and John, you gave it a 5.70. So June, how do you feel like your score matched up with your experience?
I'm surprised fanboy John gave it the lowest score. I don't understand.
Right? Up is down, down is up.
But so 5.8, that tells me really bad burn. And if the burn was better, I'd be somewhere near you, Aaron. Yeah. But that just shows you how much the burn really killed it for me.
Yeah. How about you, John?
Same. I think, and again, it's tough to judge because, I didn't have much of the cigar to go on, but it seemed like the cigar should be in the low 6s, but it's tough to gauge when the cigar won't stay lit and you're kind of fighting it the entire way. So the score kind of matches my experience very closely.
Yeah, mine is, very good representation. I mean, I like the flavors. And that final third, the char just took over. If you could dodge the char in that final third and have a much better burn, you're gonna be knocking on the door of 7, which is a really good score. So, flavor's good here. I would just love to see maybe time will settle that final third down with the char. Who knows? And but the construction needs to be figured out and to see how it goes.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I would be interested to grab a couple of these and sit on them for 3 or 4 months and revisit it, because I do feel that like I said, I've certainly smoked my fair share of Black Label Trading Company, and definitely something way out of the norm here. And I feel like if we sat on a couple samples for 3 months, that the burn construction issues would resolve themselves.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, June?
No. Nope.
All right. If you're just catching this video on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us, but also check out the full written review on the website, developingpalace.com. Be sure to follow us on all your favorite social media channels, and follow us and catch our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.
Come on,